They say love is supposed to feel like coming home. But standing at the altar in her grandmother's vintage lace dress, Luna discovers that sometimes home burns to the ground while you're still inside it. "I can't marry damaged goods," Marcus announces to the packed church, his voice carrying clearly to every pew. The words slice through her like shattered glass, each syllable finding its mark with surgical precision. Everyone knows what happened to her family. The curse follows the bloodline. Congregation's whispers rise like a tide, drowning her in shame. Luna's parents died 8 years ago in what the police called an animal attack, mauled beyond recognition in the woods behind their house. She was the only survivor, found 3 days later with no memory of what happened, her body covered in scars she still can't explain. For 8 years, she's been the town's tragic curiosity. The girl who attracted darkness. The broken thing that decent people whisper about but never quite accept. Marcus turns away from her, his disgust written across features she once thought handsome. The ring slides from her trembling fingers, hitting the marble floor with a sound like thunder. 200 guests watch her humiliation unfold, their faces a mixture of pity and relief that it's happening to someone else. Luna runs. Still in her wedding dress, she drives blindly into the Cascade Mountains as rain begins to fall. Her car breaks down miles from anywhere, and as she stumbles through the storm-lashed forest, lightning illuminates a pair of golden eyes watching from the shadows. A massive black wolf emerges from the darkness, and instead of the terror she should feel, recognition floods through her like coming alive for the first time. As if her whole broken life has been leading to this moment. This creature. This wild, impossible destiny she never knew she was waiting for. 3 months after the wedding disaster that shattered her life, Luna Martinez serves coffee to truckers and insomniacs in the Cascade Diner, a 24-hour establishment that caters to those who prefer the shadows. The fluorescent lights buzz overhead like dying insects, casting everything in a sickly yellow glow that makes even the healthiest patrons look corpse pale. She's invisible here, which is exactly what she needs. Just another damaged soul hiding in a mountain town called Cedar Falls, where asking too many questions about someone's past is considered bad manners. The regulars barely acknowledge her existence beyond grunted orders for black coffee and pie that's seen better days. Big rig drivers heading over the pass, factory workers pulling double shifts, locals nursing heartbreak or addiction or whatever demons chase them through the sleepless hours. Her tiny apartment above Mel's auto shop reflects her belief that she doesn't deserve comfort. A mattress on the floor, a hot plate, a few changes of clothes hanging from nails hammered into the wall. The bare minimum for survival, because deep down she knows she's just marking time until the curse that follows her bloodline claims another victim. The nightmares come every time she closes her eyes. Fragments of memory from that terrible night 8 years ago when her parents died. Inhuman snarls echoing through the trees. Claws that could tear through steel. Her own terrified screaming cut short by something her mind refuses to remember. She wakes up clawing at scars that run from her shoulders to her wrists, raised white lines that ache before storms as if her body remembers things her conscious mind has blocked. During the day, when exhaustion finally forces her to sleep, she walks the forest trails that crisscross the mountains around Cedar Falls. She tells herself it's for exercise, for fresh air, for anything except the truth that the wilderness calls to something wild inside her. Something that feels more at home among the pines and granite peaks than in any human dwelling. The locals whisper about her, of course. The girl who survived the animal attack that killed her parents. The bride who got left at the altar because she was too damaged for a decent man to love. Poor Luna Martinez, cursed to be alone. They speak about her like she can't hear them, like her pain is entertainment for their small-town gossip mill. But loneliness feels safer than the alternative. Everyone who gets close to her suffers. Her parents, torn apart by something that shouldn't exist. Marcus, who ran from her at the altar rather than risk contamination by whatever darkness follows her bloodline. Even her childhood friends drifted away over the years, as if some primal instinct warned them to keep their distance. She's convinced the curse that killed her parents lives in her blood, waiting for the next person foolish enough to care about her. So she keeps everyone at arm's length, serves their coffee with mechanical efficiency, and tells herself that being alone is a kindness to the world. The scars on her arms throb as storm clouds gather over the mountains, and Luna Martinez pulls her sleeves down to hide the evidence of whatever monster destroyed her family and left her as the sole broken survivor. It starts on a Tuesday night when Luna's 15-year-old Honda breaks down 3 miles from town. The engine gives a final, shuddering death rattle before going silent, leaving her stranded on the mountain road with nothing but darkness stretching in every direction. No cell service, no other cars, just the whisper of wind through pine trees and the distant call of night birds. She's walked maybe half a mile when she first sees the eyes. Golden and luminous, reflecting the weak moonlight from somewhere in the tree line. They pace her as she walks, maintaining perfect distance, never getting closer but never falling behind. Any rational person would be terrified, but Luna feels something else entirely. Recognition, as if some buried part of her soul knows exactly what's watching her from the shadows. The massive black wolf emerges into a patch of moonlight, and Luna's breath catches in her throat. It's enormous, far larger than any normal wolf should be, with intelligence burning in those golden eyes that seems almost human. They stare at each other across 20 feet of asphalt, predator and prey locked in a moment that feels suspended outside of time. Then a truck rounds the bend, headlights sweeping across the road, and the wolf vanishes like smoke. The driver, a grizzled local named Pete, gives Luna a ride back to town and lectures her about walking alone after dark. Too many dangerous animals in these mountains, he says. A girl could disappear without a trace. But Luna can't stop thinking about those eyes, the way they seem to see straight through to her soul. She starts leaving food scraps behind the diner after her shifts. Day-old pastries, leftover soup, anything she can spare. By morning, it's always gone, and sometimes she finds massive paw prints in the dirt where something large paused to eat. The other waitresses think she's feeding stray dogs, but Luna knows better. She's researched wolves online, studied their behavior and habitat. What she saw was no ordinary animal. The local folklore speaks of a cursed alpha, doomed to wander the mountains in wolf form, never able to return to human shape. The stories say he's been alone for centuries, driven mad by isolation and the weight of some ancient transgression. The connection she feels to this legend makes no logical sense, but logic has never governed her life anyway. She starts talking to the shadows behind the diner where she leaves the food, sharing fragments of her day with someone who can't judge her broken thoughts. She tells him about the nightmares that won't fade, about the wedding dress she burned in the dumpster, about how it feels to be the kind of person that nobody wants. There's comfort in talking to someone who can't hurt her because he's not really there. At least, that's what she tells herself until the night she's walking home and hears footsteps that match her pace exactly. Not human footsteps, but the soft pad of paws on asphalt, keeping time with her heartbeat. She turns, and there he is again. The black wolf, close enough that she can see the silver threading through his dark fur, the scars that crisscross his muzzle like evidence of old battles. He's beautiful and terrifying and impossibly familiar, as if she's been waiting her entire life to meet him. This time when she speaks, her voice barely above a whisper, she swears she sees understanding in his golden gaze. As if the loneliness that's been eating her alive finally has an answer, and it's been pacing the shadows all along, waiting for her to be brave enough to acknowledge it. The dreams start the night after Luna's second encounter with the wolf. She falls asleep in her cramped apartment above the auto shop, but her mind carries her to a moonlit forest where she runs on 4 legs through silver shadows. Her dream body moves with fluid grace, muscles bunching and releasing as she leaps fallen logs and dodges between towering pines. The sensation is intoxicating, like remembering how to fly after years of being trapped on the ground. In these dreams, she's never alone. A massive black wolf runs beside her, their movements perfectly synchronized as if they're 2 halves of the same soul. When they reach a clearing bathed in moonlight, she sees other wolves waiting. A pack that welcomes her with joyful howls, accepts her completely without question or judgment. She belongs here in a way she's never belonged anywhere in her waking life. The dreams feel more real than reality. She wakes with the taste of wild air in her mouth, phantom sensations of transformation tingling through her limbs. Her reflection in the cracked mirror above her sink looks different somehow. Eyes brighter, features sharper, movements more fluid and predatory. When she stretches, her joints pop in ways that seem almost like shifting bones seeking new configurations. During her shifts at the diner, Luna finds herself distracted by scents she's never noticed before. The metallic tang of old blood from rare steaks, the complex musk of the truckers who haven't showered in days, the fierce sweat of the teenager whose fake identification won't fool anyone over 30. Her hearing sharpens too, picking up whispered conversations from across the restaurant, the subtle changes in heartbeat that indicate when someone is lying. She starts researching her family history with an urgency that surprises her. In the Cedar Falls Library's dusty archives, she finds her grandmother's journal tucked inside a box of estate documents that were never claimed. The leather binding is cracked with age, the pages yellow and brittle, but the handwriting is clear and precise. The entries speak of moon daughters and bloodline awakenings, of women in her family who carried dormant wolf genetics that could lie sleeping for generations. Her grandmother writes about dreams that blur the line between human and animal, about mates who call across species boundaries, about transformations that remake the soul as well as the body. Most disturbing are the passages about the alpha's return. Her grandmother believed that somewhere in the mountains a cursed wolf waited for the right bloodline to awaken, for the mate who could either restore his humanity or destroy them both in the attempt. The journal suggests that Luna's parents weren't killed randomly. They were murdered to prevent her awakening, to keep her from ever meeting her destined mate. The black wolf starts appearing in daylight, no longer hiding in shadows but walking boldly through the forest where she can see him. When Luna takes her afternoon walks on the mountain trails, he paces her from a distance, always visible but never threatening. She swears she can see human intelligence burning in those golden eyes, a mind trapped in animal form but desperately trying to communicate. One afternoon, she stops at the edge of a meadow where wildflowers bloom in riotous color, and speaks directly to him. Her voice carries clearly in the mountain air, and she tells him about the dreams, about her grandmother's journal, about the growing certainty that her ordinary life is ending and something incredible and terrifying is beginning. The wolf steps closer than he ever has before, close enough that she can see the individual hairs of his dark coat, the old scars that mark his muzzle, the way his ears twitch at every nuance of her voice. When she extends her hand, palm up in offering, he takes another step forward. For a heartbeat, they're frozen in that moment of almost touching, two lost souls recognizing each other across the impossible divide between human and wolf, between the broken girl who believes she's cursed and the ancient alpha who's been waiting centuries for her to remember who she really is. The stranger arrives on a Thursday morning when the diner is nearly empty, sliding into the corner booth with the practiced grace of someone who's used to commanding attention. She's elegant in a way that doesn't belong in Cedar Falls, with silver hair swept into a perfect chignon and clothes that probably cost more than Luna makes in 6 months. Her eyes are the pale blue of winter ice, and when she looks at Luna, it's with the kind of knowing that makes the hair on the back of her neck stand up. Elena Thorne introduces herself as a genealogy researcher, but her questions are too specific, too targeted to be casual academic interest. She knows about Luna's parents' death, about the scars that mark her arms, about the wedding that ended in public humiliation. She orders chamomile tea and speaks in a voice like silk over steel, each word chosen with surgical precision. When the lunch rush ends and the diner empties except for one sleeping trucker, Elena finally reveals why she's really here. She's not human, hasn't been for over 2 centuries, and she represents a werewolf pack whose territory encompasses most of the Pacific Northwest. They've been monitoring bloodline survivors for generations, waiting for signs that dormant genetics might awaken. Luna carries the mate mark of Kieran Blackthorne, Elena explains, her pale eyes never leaving Luna's face. The bond was forged before either of them was born, written into their very DNA by forces older than recorded history. Kieran is the cursed alpha of local legend, trapped in wolf form for 300 years as punishment for defying the pack laws that govern supernatural society. Curse was Elena's work, she admits without shame. Her coven specializes in binding magic, in creating consequences that span generations. Kieran challenged the old ways, refused an arranged mating that would have strengthened political alliances, chose love over duty. So they made sure he could never take human form again, never claim a mate, never produce heirs to continue his rebellious bloodline. But prophecy has a way of twisting even the most carefully crafted curses. The mate bond that was supposed to be his eternal torment might actually be his salvation, if Luna proves strong enough to survive the claiming. Catch is that completing their bond will trigger a supernatural war that could destroy both their bloodlines and everyone caught in the crossfire. Other wolves are already coming, Elena warns. Some want Luna dead to keep Kieran powerless and trapped. Others want to capture her, use her as leverage to control the most dangerous alpha in North America. A few believe they can break the mate bond and claim her for themselves, stealing the power that rightfully belongs to Kieran. The black wolf that's been protecting Luna is Kieran himself, already half-mad from centuries of isolation and the growing pull of their destined connection. Every day that passes without claiming her drives him closer to complete feral madness. Soon he won't be able to distinguish between protecting her and possessing her, between love and obsession. Luna has two choices, Elena explains with clinical detachment. She can flee, leave Cedar Falls and spend the rest of her life running from wolves who will never stop hunting her. She'll be alone but safe, human but hollow, forever wondering what might have been if she'd been brave enough to embrace her supernatural heritage. Or she can stay and risk everything for a love that might be destiny or destruction. She can accept the mate bond, undergo the transformation that will awaken her dormant wolf nature, and fight beside Kieran for the right to choose their own fate. The outcome is far from certain, Elena admits. Curse is ancient and powerful, designed to destroy rather than liberate. As Elena rises to leave, she places a silver pendant on the table between them. It's carved with symbols that seem to shift and writhe when Luna isn't looking directly at them, warm to the touch despite the cool metal. Protection magic, Elena explains, though she doesn't specify protection from what. The bell above the diner door chimes as Elena disappears into the afternoon sunlight, leaving Luna alone with impossible choices and the growing certainty that her ordinary life ended the moment she locked eyes with a golden gaze in the forest. Outside, storm clouds gather over the mountains, and somewhere in the wilderness, an alpha wolf lifts his muzzle to scent the air, sensing that everything is about to change. Marcus appears 3 days after Elena's visit, walking into the diner like he owns the place, his familiar smile as bright and false as ever. He's dressed better than Luna remembers, expensive clothes that fit too perfectly, and there's something different about the way he moves. More fluid, more predatory, as if he's stopped pretending to be entirely human. He slides into the same booth where Elena delivered her warnings, ordering black coffee and watching Luna with eyes that seem to catch the light strangely. When the dinner rush dies down, he finally speaks the word she's been dreading to hear. He made a mistake, he says. Walking away from her at the altar was the biggest error of his life, and he's spent every day since regretting his moment of weakness. He wants her back, wants to make things right between them, wants to give her the normal life she's always deserved. But his sudden change of heart feels wrong on every level. Timing is too convenient, his remorse too practiced, his touch too cold when he reaches across the table to cover her hand with his. Where once she might have melted at his attention, now every instinct screams danger. Luna pulls her hand away, and something flickers across his features. Surprise, maybe, or annoyance quickly masked. He's not used to rejection, she realizes, especially not from someone he considers damaged goods. Elena warned her this might happen, though she didn't specify who might come. Luna studies Marcus more carefully, noticing things she missed during their relationship. The way his nostrils flare slightly when he's agitated, as if scenting the air. How his canine teeth seem sharper than she remembers. Predatory stillness in his posture that suggests coiled strength ready to spring. He's not entirely human, hasn't been for years. The realization hits her like ice water, rewriting their entire relationship in a new and terrifying context. Every moment of their courtship, every intimate conversation, every kiss was part of some larger deception. He was watching her, monitoring her, waiting for signs that her dormant bloodline might awaken. Marcus confirms her suspicions without meaning to, speaking too knowledgeably about wolf politics, about territorial disputes and bloodline inheritance. He mentions the cursed alpha like he knows him personally, describes the mate bond like he's witnessed its effects firsthand. When Luna challenges him directly, asking what he really wants, his mask finally slips. He's a beta wolf from a rival pack, sent to monitor her years ago when their seers identified her as a potential threat. His rejection at the altar wasn't cruelty, it was strategy. Isolating her made her easier to control, more desperate for any connection that might ease her loneliness. Now that her mate bond with Kieran is awakening, his pack wants to claim her first, believing they can break the ancient curse and use her power for themselves. The betrayal cuts deeper than his public humiliation ever could. Every moment of happiness she'd felt with him was built on lies, every kiss calculated to manipulate her emotions. He speaks about their future together with the confidence of someone who assumes her compliance, as if she's too broken and desperate to refuse his offer. But Luna isn't the same frightened girl who fled from the altar 3 months ago. Living on her own, working for her survival, facing the truth about her supernatural heritage has awakened something fierce inside her. When Marcus reaches for her again, she doesn't just pull away, she meets his eyes with steady defiance. His careful composure cracks, revealing the predator underneath. He describes what his pack will do to Kieran, how they'll use her bond with him to trap and destroy the alpha who's been a thorn in their territory for centuries. They'll make her watch, he promises, make sure she understands the consequences of choosing the wrong side. But as Marcus speaks, Luna becomes aware of a familiar presence outside the diner. Golden eyes gleaming in the darkness beyond the windows, a massive shadow pacing the parking lot with barely restrained fury. Kieran has come for her, drawn by some instinct that recognizes the threat to his mate. Marcus senses him too, his body going rigid with alarm. When he turns toward the window, Luna sees fear flicker across his features for the first time. Whatever confidence his pack affiliation gives him, it's not enough to face the cursed alpha on his own territory. Choice crystallizes with perfect clarity. Safety with a man who's manipulated and betrayed her, or danger with the wolf who's protected her from the shadows. A calculated partnership built on deception, or a destiny that might destroy them both but feels more real than anything she's ever known. Luna stands, Elena's silver pendant warm against her throat, and makes her decision. She chooses the wolf in the darkness over the liar in the light, choosing passion over safety, truth over comfort, love over fear. The blood moon rises 3 weeks later, casting everything in Cedar Falls in shades of crimson and shadow. Luna wakes to find her reflection completely changed, her brown eyes now flecked with gold, her movements carrying a predatory grace that wasn't there the day before. Transformation is accelerating whether she's ready or not. Her scars burn like brands against her skin, the raised white lines that mark her arms and shoulders pulsing with heat that matches her racing heartbeat. When she flexes her fingers, she swears she can feel claws trying to emerge, bone and cartilage shifting beneath human flesh. Her senses have sharpened to an almost painful degree. She can hear conversations from 3 blocks away, smell the fierce sweat of the teenager trying to buy alcohol with fake identification, taste the metallic tang of old blood that seems to permeate everything. The diner, the fluorescent lights buzz like angry wasps, too bright and harsh for her newly sensitive eyes. Coffee smells burnt and bitter, food tastes like cardboard, and every human scent carries undertones of emotion she never noticed before. Fear, arousal, deception, longing, all layered together in a complex symphony that threatens to overwhelm her completely. Animals throughout Cedar Falls behave strangely, as if sensing some approaching supernatural event. Dogs howl at empty air, cats hiss at shadows, and the local wildlife has completely vanished from the forest trails where Luna used to walk. Even the electronic devices in town seem affected, radios crackling with static, cell phones dropping calls, streetlights flickering on and off at random intervals. Kieran begins taking greater risks to stay close to her, no longer content to watch from the forest shadows. She glimpses him during her walks, a massive black form pacing just inside the tree line, his golden eyes never leaving her face. When she works late shifts at the diner, he waits in the parking lot, a dark guardian whose presence both comforts and terrifies her. The first attack comes on a Tuesday night when Luna is walking home from work. 3 wolves emerge from the alley behind the auto shop, smaller than Kieran but moving with pack coordination that speaks of years hunting together. Their eyes reflect the streetlights like coins, and when they bare their teeth, she sees the intelligence burning there. These aren't animals acting on instinct. They're shapeshifters following orders. Luna's body responds before her mind can process the danger. Strength she didn't know she possessed floods her limbs as claws burst from her fingertips, sharp and deadly as razors. Her canine teeth elongate into fangs, and when she snarls at her attackers, the sound that emerges from her throat is purely inhuman. Partial shift saves her life but costs her the last shreds of her humanity. She fights with a savagery that shocks her, claws tearing through fur and flesh, her enhanced strength sending one attacker flying into a brick wall with bone-crushing force. But 3 against 1 are impossible odds, even with her awakening abilities. That's when Kieran arrives like a force of nature, his massive form crashing into the fight with lethal precision. Luna watches in fascination and horror as he tears through her attackers, his movements beautiful and terrible in their efficiency. This is what an alpha looks like when protecting his mate, she realizes. This is the kind of violence that love can inspire. The rival wolves retreat, but not before their leader, a gray female with scars across her muzzle, speaks in a voice that carries clearly across the night air. The blood moon rises in 3 days, she says, her words directed at Kieran but intended for Luna's ears. Your mate will choose then, wolf or human, life or death. Her pack claims first right to her power. After they disappear into the darkness, Kieran approaches Luna slowly, his golden eyes searching her face for signs of fear or rejection. Instead, she reaches out with hands still tipped with claws, running her fingers through his dark fur while her heart pounds with adrenaline and something deeper, more primal. She's not afraid of his violence, she realizes. She's aroused by it. The civilized part of her mind recoils from the thought, but her wolf nature recognizes strength when she sees it, responds to the alpha power that radiates from him like heat. When he leans into her touch, a sound rumbling from his chest that's part growl, part purr, Luna feels answering vibrations in her own throat. Elena appears the next day with warnings that feel increasingly irrelevant. The rival packs are gathering, she explains, drawn by the approaching blood moon and the power Luna will either claim or lose forever. If she completes the mate bond during the lunar eclipse, she'll either become the most powerful alpha female in generations or both she and Kieran will die in the transformation. But Luna is past the point of being warned away from her destiny. Her body is changing whether she wills it or not, her wolf nature clawing its way to the surface with increasing desperation. The civilized world feels thin and insubstantial compared to the wild power calling from the forest. When she looks at Kieran now, she doesn't see a cursed creature trapped between forms. She sees her mate, her equal, her other half finally found after lifetimes of searching. The blood moon rising over the mountains feels like a promise rather than a threat, and Luna Martinez prepares to discover exactly what she's capable of becoming. The annual Cedar Falls Harvest Festival arrives with crisp October air and the scent of wood smoke drifting from food vendors lining Main Street. Luna moves through the crowd with newfound awareness, her enhanced senses picking up the complex layering of human emotions beneath the cheerful facade. Fear mingles with excitement, old grudges simmer under polite conversation, and desire crackles between couples who think their attraction is secret. She's working the festival as extra help for the diner, serving coffee and pie to families enjoying the last warm weekend before winter settles over the mountains. Children run between the booths with painted faces and sticky fingers, their laughter bright and innocent in the autumn sunshine. For a moment, Luna allows herself to imagine what it might feel like to belong here, to be part of a community instead of hiding on its edges. That fantasy shatters when Marcus appears beside the caramel apple stand, no longer bothering with his human facade. His movements carry the fluid grace of a predator, and when he smiles at her across the crowd, she sees too many teeth. He's brought friends this time, 3 other men who position themselves around the festival with military precision, cutting off her escape routes. Luna reaches instinctively for Elena's pendant, but her fingers find only bare skin. The protective charm is gone, lost somewhere in the chaos of her last confrontation with Kieran's attackers. She's vulnerable in a way that makes her newly awakened wolf instincts scream warnings. The attack comes without preamble. Marcus shifts partially in broad daylight, his human face elongating into something bestial, claws erupting from his fingertips as he lunges toward her. Luna's body responds before her mind can process the impossibility of what's happening, her own transformation triggered by pure survival instinct. Her bones crack and reshape with audible pops that cut through the festival noise like gunshots. Her spine curves as muscles flow like water, reforming into new configurations of strength and speed. When she snarls at Marcus, the sound that emerges from her throat is purely inhuman, carrying an alpha dominance that makes several bystanders stumble backward in instinctive submission. Crowd's reaction is immediate and chaotic. Some people scream and run, their fight or flight responses triggered by the supernatural violence erupting in their midst. Others pull out phones, recording everything with the morbid fascination of humans confronting the impossible. A few locals back away slowly, their faces pale with the recognition that the legends they've whispered about for generations are standing right in front of them. Luna's claws tear through Marcus's expensive shirt, leaving parallel gouges across his chest that bleed dark red onto the festival grass. Her enhanced strength sends him flying backward into the ring toss booth, wooden posts splintering under the impact. But even as she revels in her newfound power, she realizes the magnitude of what's happening. There's no going back from this moment. Everyone in Cedar Falls now knows that monsters are real, that the girl they've pitted and whispered about carries supernatural power in her blood. Careful anonymity she's built over the past months has been destroyed in seconds of uncontrolled rage. That's when Kieran arrives, his massive wolf form crashing through the crowd like a force of nature. He's even larger than Luna remembered, his black fur shot through with silver, his golden eyes blazing with protective fury. The sight of him sends ripples of terror and awe through the gathered townspeople, but Luna feels only relief and recognition. He places himself between her and Marcus's recovering form, his entire body radiating the kind of lethal authority that makes grown men reconsider their life choices. When he growls, the sound reverberates through the festival grounds like thunder, and every dog in a 3-block radius begins howling in response. Marcus struggles to his feet, his partially shifted form bleeding from multiple wounds. Even with backup, facing Kieran on his home territory is clearly more than he bargained for. But instead of retreating, he raises his voice so every person in the crowd can hear his words. By the ancient laws that govern our kind, he declares, his voice carrying despite the chaos, I challenge the cursed alpha's claim to this female. She belongs to my pack by right of first blood, first contact, first courtship. Let the old laws decide who is worthy to claim such power. The formal challenge triggers something primal in the gathered supernatural forces, a recognition of laws older than human civilization. Luna realizes with growing horror that she's about to become the prize in a battle that will determine not just her fate, but the future balance of power between rival packs. Sheriff Davidson pushes through the crowd, his hand resting on his service weapon but his eyes showing the kind of weariness that comes from dealing with supernatural politics for longer than most people realize. He's part of Elena's network, Luna realizes, one of the human allies who help maintain the balance between the ordinary world and the creatures that hunt in its shadows. The festival grounds have become a battleground, innocent families caught in the crossfire of ancient rivalries and supernatural law. Luna looks around at the faces surrounding her, sees fear and fascination and the terrible hunger humans have for witnessing violence they don't understand. Her secret is out, her normal life officially over, and the blood moon still hangs 2 days away in the darkening sky. Whatever happens next will determine whether she emerges from this confrontation as a powerful alpha female or dies trying to become something she was never meant to survive. The formal challenge takes place at midnight in the forest clearing where Luna's parents died 8 years ago, adding a weight of history and grief to an already dangerous confrontation. Ancient pack law demands that disputes over mate rights be settled on ground that holds significance for all parties involved, and this scarred patch of earth where her family's blood was spilled carries more meaning than any courtroom. Kieran arrives in his wolf form, unable to shift to human shape to properly claim his mate according to traditional ceremony. Curse that has trapped him for 3 centuries makes him appear weak in the eyes of supernatural law, a crippled alpha who cannot even speak to defend his claim. Marcus taunts him about this limitation as they circle each other in the moonlight, suggesting that Luna deserves a mate who can give her both sides of his nature. The battle that follows is brutal and primal, 2 powerful males fighting for the right to claim the female they both desire. But their motivations couldn't be more different. Marcus sees Luna as a prize to be won, a source of power that will elevate his status within his pack's hierarchy. Kieran fights with the desperation of a mate protecting his other half, the one person who can complete his fractured soul. During the savage combat, Luna experiences flashbacks to her parents' death with shocking clarity. The fragmented memories she's carried for 8 years suddenly align into a coherent narrative of horror and betrayal. Her parents weren't killed by random wolves, they were murdered by Marcus's pack as part of a long-term plan to prevent her from ever meeting her destined mate. They had tried to run that night, her father shifting to his wolf form to carry her mother and young Luna to safety. But the rival pack had been hunting them for months, waiting for the right moment to strike. Luna watched from her hiding place as Marcus himself delivered the killing blow to her father, his jaws closing around her mother's throat to silence her screams. The trauma of witnessing her parents' murder is what triggered Luna's memory loss and delayed her transformation. Her mind couldn't process such betrayal and violence, so it buried everything deep enough to protect her sanity. But watching Marcus fight Kieran in the same clearing where her family died brings every suppressed memory flooding back with devastating force. Her rage triggers a transformation more complete than any she's experienced before. Bones crack and reshape as her human form dissolves into something magnificent and terrible. Her wolf is larger than should be possible for a female, her silver coat gleaming like starlight in the darkness. When she interrupts the battle between the 2 males, her howl carries the authority of an alpha female claiming her rightful place. The supernatural law that Marcus invoked to justify his challenge has an ancient provision he didn't expect her to know about. A female of alpha bloodline can reject any mate who has caused harm to her family line, regardless of prior claims or territorial disputes. By revealing his role in her parents' murder, Marcus has invalidated his own challenge. Luna's voice carries clearly through the forest as she recites words that feel like they've been waiting centuries for her to speak them. By moon and blood, by tooth and claw, by the ancient laws that bind our kind, I reject this male's claim. He has spilled the blood of my lineage. He has forfeited all rights to my choosing. Marcus's fury at being outmaneuvered legally turns to genuine fear as he realizes what Luna's rejection means. An alpha female's formal rejection doesn't just end a courtship, it marks the rejected male as an enemy of her bloodline. Any wolf who comes to her defense is within their rights to kill him without consequence. Kieran's response is swift and merciless. Already weakened from their battle, Marcus cannot defend himself against the cursed alpha's renewed attack. The fight ends with Marcus's blood soaking into the same soil where Luna's parents died, a kind of poetic justice that brings closure to 8 years of unanswered grief. But even as Luna celebrates her victory over the male who destroyed her family, she realizes that Kieran's condition is worsening. Curse that has trapped him for centuries is fighting back against her acceptance of their bond. Instead of her love freeing him from his wolf form, the ancient magic seems determined to destroy them both rather than allow their union. The rival pack members who came to witness Marcus's triumph retreat into the darkness, but Luna can feel their hatred burning like cold fire. She has humiliated their champion and exposed their crimes, making herself and Kieran targets for revenge that will follow them for the rest of their lives. As dawn approaches and the blood moon sets behind the mountains, Luna holds Kieran's massive wolf form against her chest, feeling his heartbeat grow weaker with each passing moment. She has won the right to choose her own mate, but the curse that brought them together may yet tear them apart before their bond can be completed. The formal challenge is over, but the real battle for their survival is just beginning. Luna looks toward the eastern sky where the first hints of sunrise paint the horizon pink and gold, wondering if she and Kieran will live to see another dawn together. The blood moon reaches its peak at 11:57 on the night that will either save them or destroy them both. Luna and Kieran return to the forest clearing where they first encountered each other, where her broken life began its transformation into something magnificent and terrifying. The air itself seems charged with ancient magic, making her skin prickle with awareness and her wolf nature pace restlessly beneath her human facade. Kieran's condition has deteriorated since Marcus's death. Curse that has trapped him for 3 centuries is fighting back against Luna's acceptance, sensing that its hold over him is weakening. He shifts between wolf and partial human form unpredictably, his body caught in a supernatural flux that leaves him exhausted and increasingly desperate. Elena arrives with her coven as the moon begins to eclipse, their faces grave with the knowledge of what they're about to witness. The ritual they're here to observe is older than recorded history, a mating bond that transcends the normal boundaries between human and wolf consciousness. Most who attempt it die in the transformation, their minds shattered by the overwhelming merger of 2 distinct souls. Under the blood moon's crimson light, Luna and Kieran begin the claiming ritual that will either complete their bond or kill them in the attempt. She approaches him slowly, her movements fluid with the wolf grace she's finally learned to embrace. When she touches his partially shifted form, electricity races between them, the mate bond that's been building for months finally allowed to complete itself. The physical joining is intense beyond anything Luna could have imagined, part spiritual connection and part magical transformation. As their bodies unite, she feels Kieran's consciousness merging with hers, his memories and emotions flooding through her awareness with overwhelming force. She experiences his centuries of loneliness, the crushing weight of his isolation, the gradual erosion of his humanity under the curse's relentless pressure. At the same time, her own essence flows into him, carrying the warmth of human connection he's been denied for so long. Her memories of loss and abandonment resonate with his own trauma, creating a bridge of shared understanding that transcends the barriers between their species. Luna's first complete transformation happens during the height of their mating ritual. Her bones crack and reshape with sounds like breaking branches as her human form dissolves into something wild and magnificent. Her wolf is silver as moonlight, larger than any normal female should be, carrying the genetic markers of an alpha bloodline that's been dormant for generations. Together they run through the moonlit forest as true mates, their wolves recognizing each other on a level that bypasses conscious thought entirely. Connection between them is electric, primal, perfect in ways that make Luna understand why people speak of soulmates as literal truth rather than romantic fantasy. But as the eclipse reaches totality and the moon disappears completely behind Earth's shadow, the curse strikes back with devastating force. Instead of Kieran becoming fully human as the prophecies suggested, both Luna and Kieran begin to fade, their forms becoming translucent as they're caught between human and wolf states. The ancient magic fights their union with malicious intelligence, determined to destroy them both rather than allow the mate bond that could break its power. Luna feels herself dissolving, her consciousness scattering like leaves in a hurricane as the curse tries to tear her soul apart. Elena and her coven watch in helpless horror as the 2 lovers fade before their eyes. Curse is too powerful, too deeply rooted in centuries of accumulated pain and isolation. They're losing the battle for their own existence, trapped in a supernatural limbo that offers no escape. But even as death closes around them, Luna refuses to surrender. The love she feels for Kieran burns brighter than the curse's hatred, more powerful than the ancient magic trying to separate them. She reaches for him across the dissolving boundary of their shared consciousness, her voice carrying clearly through dimensions of reality that shouldn't exist. If they're going to die, she decides they'll die together. If the curse wants to claim them both, it will have to face the combined power of 2 souls who choose love over fear, hope over despair, unity over the isolation that has defined their separate existences. The claiming ritual reaches its climax as the blood moon begins to emerge from eclipse, and Luna Martinez prepares to discover whether love really can conquer death, or if some curses are too powerful for even the strongest bonds to break. As Luna and Kieran fade between human and wolf forms, their bodies becoming translucent in the blood moon's dying light, Luna realizes that fighting the curse directly will only strengthen its hold over them. The ancient magic feeds on struggle, on the fear and desperation that have sustained it for 3 centuries. But love operates by different rules entirely. She stops trying to maintain her physical form and instead reaches deeper into the connection that binds her soul to Kieran's. Through their mate bond, she can feel his consciousness scattered across dimensions of reality that shouldn't exist, his essence torn apart by supernatural forces designed to destroy rather than create. The revelation comes like lightning splitting the darkness. The curse can only be broken through ultimate sacrifice, but not the kind Elena's coven expected. This isn't about one of them dying for the other, it's about choosing to love without reservation, without the self-preservation that keeps most people from complete vulnerability. Luna offers to take the entire curse upon herself, absorbing all 3 centuries of accumulated pain and isolation into her own soul. She speaks the words that feel like they've been waiting lifetimes for her to find them, her voice carrying across multiple planes of existence where Kieran's fractured consciousness drifts like smoke. By moon and blood, by tooth and claw, by love that burns brighter than fear, she declares, let his suffering become mine. Let his curse find its home in willing flesh. Let him be free to live while I carry the weight of what was done to him. The offer isn't tactical or calculated, it's the pure expression of a love so complete that her own survival becomes irrelevant compared to his freedom. She would rather spend eternity trapped in wolf form than watch him suffer another moment under the curse's crushing weight. But as Luna prepares to absorb 3 centuries of supernatural punishment into her mortal soul, the ancient magic recoils in shock. This isn't the selfish desire it was designed to corrupt and destroy. This isn't the grasping need for power that has sustained it for generations. This is something the curse has never encountered before. Sacrificial love offered without expectation of return. The malicious intelligence that has maintained the binding for 3 centuries finds itself facing a force it has no defense against. Curses thrive on pain, on the victim's desperate need to escape their suffering. They grow stronger when fed with fear and hatred and the kind of bitter resentment that turns love into poison. Luna's willingness to sacrifice everything for Kieran's salvation represents something the curse cannot process or overcome. Her love isn't tainted by possessiveness or the need to control, it's pure gift freely given. The ancient magic, designed to punish and corrupt, has no power over genuine selflessness. Elena and her coven watch in amazement as the supernatural bonds that have held Kieran prisoner begin to crack like glass under pressure. Curse shatters with a sound like breaking crystal, its accumulated power scattering harmlessly into the night air as it finds no purchase in Luna's willing sacrifice. Both Luna and Kieran transform simultaneously, their fading forms solidifying back into full existence as the curse's hold over reality breaks completely. But they're not the same people who began this ritual hours earlier. Transformation has remade them both on a fundamental level, burning away everything that was merely human to reveal the supernatural power that was always their birthright. Kieran speaks in his human voice for the first time in 3 centuries, the words rough with disuse but carrying unmistakable authority. Luna Martinez, he says, using her full name like a formal claim, you are my mate, my equal, my other half. By the laws older than civilization, I name you alpha female of our bloodline. Luna feels the power settling into her bones like recognition, the genetic inheritance that's been waiting generations for the right trigger to awaken. She's not just transformed, she's evolved into something that has never existed before. An alpha female whose power comes not from dominance but from the strength to sacrifice everything for love. Elena steps forward with her coven, their faces reflecting awe and perhaps a little fear at what they've witnessed. The ancient curse they helped create has been broken not by force or cleverness, but by a love so pure it rendered their magic powerless. They offer formal acknowledgement of Luna's new status, warning that other pacts will either seek to ally with them or attempt to destroy them out of fear. But Luna barely hears the political implications. She's lost in Kieran's golden eyes, seeing her own wonder reflected there. They're both fully human with the ability to shift at will, the curse's limitations burned away by the fire of their completed bond. The blood moon sets behind the mountains as dawn approaches, painting the sky in shades of rose and gold. Luna and Kieran stand together in the clearing where their love story began, no longer the broken girl and cursed wolf who found each other in the darkness. There's something new and dangerous and beautiful, mates who chose each other across every barrier the world could place between them. Transformation is complete, but their story is just beginning. Luna Martinez has claimed her destiny as an alpha female, and the supernatural world will never be the same. Love doesn't always arrive when we expect it, and it rarely looks like the fairy tales promise. Sometimes it comes dressed as a monster in the shadows, golden eyes watching from the forest darkness, waiting for us to be brave enough to recognize our own reflection in something wild and impossible. Luna Martinez learned that being wanted isn't about becoming perfect or acceptable to those who never saw her worth. It's about finding someone who sees the broken places and chooses to love them anyway, who recognizes the strength hidden beneath scars and calls it beautiful. She discovered that transformation isn't always gentle. Sometimes we have to die to who we were in order to become who we're meant to be. The girl who fled from her wedding in shame no longer exists, replaced by a woman who knows her own power and isn't afraid to use it. Her mate bond with Kieran proved that the deepest connections transcend the boundaries of species, of time, of every limitation society tries to place on love. They found each other across centuries and curses, choosing unity over isolation, hope over despair, fierce devotion over safe loneliness. Now Luna runs through moonlit forests with her pack of misfits and outcasts, those who understand that strength comes from protecting rather than conquering. She has found her home not in any building or town, but in the wild spaces where her wolf soul can breathe free. The rejected bride has become the alpha female, and her love story echoes through the mountains like a howl that promises others they are not alone.